Well, hey, what's going on, guys? It is Dave Beaver, Pastor Dave Beaver to some of y'all. But I just want to say welcome to another live episode of Grappling with Life, powered by Twisted Church. And if you've never watched the show, if you catch it live or you catch it later, hey, this show is all about bringing people on, sharing their stories. This is what I know. Whether you're a world champion, you're a hobbyist, you don't do jiu-jitsu at all, you've never grappled a day in your life, this is what I do know. Every single human being alive is grappling with real life, whether it's relationships or career choices or raising kids, you're grappling with something. So what I like to do is bring on a variety of guests. They get to share their stories, and hopefully their stories inspire you, encourage you to keep grappling with real life like we're all doing, but also to inspire people to start training, to keep training, or to start training again, right? Jiu-jitsu is a beautiful thing. Grappling in general is a beautiful thing. And I think it can empower so much about our real life off the mat. And we want to give that gift of jiu-jitsu to anyone that is interested, willing, wanting it. So without further ado, a good friend of mine, just an incredible athlete, has made his way in a lot of ways. But tonight, without further ado, welcome Dante Leon. So Dante, what's up, bro? How are you?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Yeah, so glad, man, to finally get a chance to connect. And Dante, one of the things I like to ask everyone when they come on the show, just to help people really understand, who you are today. That's a story in the making. So tell us a little bit about, man, who is Dante Leon? Like, where did you grow up? What was life for like you, growing up as a kid? What was that like?
Yeah, like since I started jiu-jitsu, I've been training in Ohio and Michigan, basically like competing and training in that tri-state area so long that everybody kind of thought I'm from there, from somewhere around there. But I'm actually from Canada. So
Yeah.
those who don't know, Windsor is like an hour away from Toledo, door to door. So I grew up in a small farm town outside of Windsor. So anytime we wanted to do anything that was jujitsu related, like martial arts training, anything like that, there weren't too many gyms back then, but you had to travel to get to them. They were in the city, they were around the Windsor area, and I was like 25, 30 miles away from Windsor in kind of a rural area, Harrow, Ontario. So jujitsu was something like completely foreign
Yeah.
to people in that area, that part of town. You know what I mean? Like if you didn't play hockey in my town or maybe a couple other sports in high school, that was pretty much all anybody really recognized as far as athletics, right? So it was always kind of like tough to find training. But between like my dedication and my parents opening up a lot of doors, I kept traveling to, go and train at other places. So that brought in Detroit and Toledo,
Nice.
traveling up to Columbus. Back in the day when the Arnold's was a big tournament, that was the first one I ever did.
Yeah.
Like 2006 or 2007, I
Wow.
think, is the first one. So back when it was
Nice.
like a Naga tournament. So there was always like a really strong um, kind of like base in the Midwest as far as grappling. You know what I mean? As far as like
Yeah.
Ohio was always really strong, and we always kind of like talked about it. And Windsor and in Canada, you would hear kind of about people talk about that because we were so close to them. It was some guys would go and cross train there, so that's kind of where I got the idea. You know what I mean? And ever since being here and getting comfortable here in Ohio, I decided to kind of settle in here when I was between teams, when I was between things in my life, and ended
Yeah.
up settling in and been here ever since. So yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of been a big part of my life being in Ohio in the Midwest, man. I mean, honestly, it's kind of been on the table for uh 15, 16 years of my life. So it's kind of
Okay.
natural for me to be here by now.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Well, definitely, it's cool. Like what I've learned is jujitsu practitioners like yourself, especially the high level guys like yourself, man, it's a lifestyle. It's an all in commitment lifestyle. Like dudes are sleeping in cars and tents. They're traveling, they're cross training, right? They're driving 3 hours just to train, and they're driving somewhere else the next day. Um, growing up before you really kind of got into that scene, traveling from Canada, coming down, their parents making a way, hitting the Naga tournament at the Arnold's back in '06. Did you play any other sports, man? Did you like? So I know like hockey's a big deal in Canada. Did you
Yeah.
wrestle? Did you like football? Anything? What was other sports like for you growing up?
So I did play hockey growing up. One thing that was cool that I kind of tried every sport and realized I didn't really like some I like, some I really didn't like. You know what I mean? Some I would stick with for a bit, but was cool that I got to try out all the kind of like the basic sports you play as a kid, soccer, baseball, um, hockey, track, field, all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
hockey was the only one I really stuck with. I played hockey quite a bit between the ages of like 6 and 12. And I even ended up playing like AAA hockey, which is high level travel hockey, kind of like everybody's dream, I guess, in
Yeah.
Canada growing up was like to play hockey on the travel team, you know what I mean, in the city. So
Yeah.
that was was fortunate enough to play that for a couple of years. But I literally went from playing AAA hockey to the next year quitting hockey, and I've never played a pickup game. I've never played a beer league game. I've never played shinny, anything since. Like I've gone
Yeah.
to public skates maybe once or twice since I started jujitsu. Like once it
Gotcha.
came down to the fact that I knew hockey was going to take away from training, I quit. So
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
So how old were you when you like found jujitsu? Like when did you officially start doing jujitsu? And it was like, yo, this is not only something that I love because here's what I think. I, I think there's people who love jujitsu, right? Like
Hmm.
when I started training jujitsu 5 years ago, like I was like, oh, this is great, and I trained for like I don't know, man, maybe 6 months, and I went and did a tournament, got smoked by everybody, but that day I fell in love. I was like, I love this, and I'm gonna do this, right? Been doing it ever since. So
Hmm.
when was that for you? When did you like, yo, not only do I love this, but I'm pretty good at this. Like you're pretty good at this, right?
Oh yeah, honestly, like it might sound cheesy, but my first time I ever did it, you know what I mean? When I did
Yeah,
all the self-defense techniques and everything, I was kind of off to the side with a friend of mine now, Tom Rennell from Canada. He was like the senior student at this gym that I trained at,
yeah,
and he kind of took me to the side and he showed me the moves, and I felt like, man, I'm kind of getting through these easy, and I kind of feel like he might be a little bit shocked, or not shocked, but maybe like a little bit impressed by it. So, and I really like doing it. And I liked, I like Bruce Lee movies. I like the UFC, I liked all that stuff. And then it was kind of cool to me, it connected with like when I started, I was 12. So it connected with like those childhood kind of
yeah,
dreams and Jackie Chan movies and stuff like that kind of idea, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, but my dad had me involved in martial arts from a very young age, just not in like a structured program, just kind of from his own experience and things like that. So it was always something I really wanted to do. And I feel like he just introduced it at the right time.
yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And not only the introduction has stuck, man, because obviously you're part of a great team. You're a household name, man. Like not only just in the Midwest, East Coast, Midwest, but man, on the jujitsu scene at large, right? You've been on Flow Grappling. You've been on Who's Number One, dude. You're an ADCC. You're in the ADCC coming up in September. That's the Olympics. That's the Super Bowl of jujitsu, man. And only 16 men in the freaking world, man, are in those weight divisions. And so, how does that
Yeah.
feel? Just to kind of carve the legacy out that you've carved out so far. Now, I'll say this: I've been able to be in the room with you a little bit, man. And what I realize is you're a no nonsense dude. You're about that work. It makes everybody else in the room work harder. Like everybody. Like you just feel like I have to work harder. Like I'm not gonna slouch while this dude's in the room. So just talk a little bit about that culture that you've come from, created, and what you've achieved up to this point.
Yeah. So I think what you see with how I am as far as my work ethic and things like that, I've always been like that. I've always worked hard. I don't want to say that I'm not gifted because I'm gifted in a lot of ways, but I'm not the most gifted person. So I need to work hard to catch the people and to level the playing field with the people who are super gifted at this sport. It's just like
Sure.
anything else. So, that's a big part of it. Um, really, I really, really love this stuff, man. Like we were just
Yeah.
talking about, I really, really like it. It's just what I want to do. It's what I never really envisioned myself doing it when I was younger, but ever since I started doing it and training consistently, I can't really see myself doing anything else, So,
Yeah.
um, it's incredible now to see that this sport that started out as like you basically, I either had to explain to somebody what jujitsu was growing up or just
Yeah.
lie to them. And when I told them what it was and they said it was karate or wrestling, I'd just be like, yeah, no, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want to explain it to them. So
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's so cool to see what ADCC, what the potential of that event is, you know.
Yeah.
The venue is crazy, 13,000 people there.
Yeah.
The amount of press, the amount of eyes that are going to be on this is like nothing else we've ever had in jiu-jitsu before. And we say this every single ADCC, but you know, the most stacked bracket ever, the most stacked bracket ever. You know, I don't know if it is the most stacked bracket ever, but it's really stacked. You know, as well as my division and a tons of others. 66 is like that. 88 is crazy too.
Yeah.
Over 99 at ADCC to be this stacked is also something that's kind of never before been seen. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, things are going to be crazy at that ADCC, and it's cool to see a sport, like I said, that was kind of not really that popular. You had to, especially where I came from, you know what I mean? Not a lot of people really knew what jujitsu was. There was no jujitsu within
Yeah.
30 minutes driving of where I grew up. So, you know, it's
Yeah.
kind of cool to see the level this is on right now, you know?
Absolutely. I was in Florida this yesterday at the Zapatero Invitational, and it's crazy. Competitors from all over the country, ADCC, veteran ADCC judges, 20 plus years are there in attendance, and I was talking with them exactly about what we're saying right now. Like, it's like jujitsu. Jiu-jitsu is on this level, and I really believe that after this is my personal take, that after this year's ADCC, it's going to hit a whole nother stride of excellence and opportunity. It's like, to the point that I really believe, like, I think there's a real chance that at some point in time you see high level no gi jujitsu, like on things like ESPN and stuff, like major network TV, because dude, it's dynamic. Look what the UFC has done. It's exciting. It kind of was started slow, but then it's like team takeover. And I think, like,
Mm-hmm.
looking at some of these jujitsu athletes that are rising stars, the level of competition, when people experience it for the first time, they're blown away. They're like, "Yo, what is this?" And I love that, because I think you're right. I think it's exciting to see how much attention is on the sport right now, on sport jujitsu. Let me ask you this: what does it feel like, just for you? Like, I'm a believer. Know yourself, know thyself, and then others. Like, if you really know, be true to yourself and what your real skills are. What does it feel like, man, to be one of, like, this is crazy to me in my head. What does it feel like for you to be one of 16 men in the entire world, bro, to be involved in the most elite competition in your sport? Like, this, what does that feel like in your head, man, in your heart?
Um, I, to be selected to be in this tournament is kind of it means a lot. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah,
going to stamp itself on history. This could very well potentially be the tournament that like blasts jujitsu into like the next level. You know what I mean? Like, just
yeah,
blows things out of the water where we start to see kind of the things you were just talking about. You know what I mean? So, but this one's a little bit special because of, if that happens, then I'm going to be part of like the first one. You know what I mean? I tell people this all the time. Like, man, I'm part of like the first generation of like professional grapplers that competes for super fights, paid super fights, and things like that. You know, I'm not saying I'm the first one. I'm definitely not the first one ever, but
sure.
like, I'm part of that first generation where there was quite a few of us here that we kind of just made our money and we made our name in super fight events and these big events that drew attention, drew bigger crowds, had, kind of more exciting rule sets and things like that. So it's kind of
Yeah,
cool to be that. I don't want to,
yeah,
it's kind of cool to be that guy and to be recognized and noticed and asked to compete in this ADCC is
yeah,
incredible. You know what I mean? This is something that's going to be potential. It has the potential. I don't want to say it's going to be, because you never know. You don't want to jump ahead, but this has the potential to be something that's talked about and remembered forever as the one. You know what I mean? So this
yeah.
is this is a cool thing.
Doing just a little bit of research on the ADCC, going back, looking at previous cards, looking at previous weight divisions. I think the case is, man, pretty clear and cut. Like, this is special ADCC. Not only you have super stacked uh weight classes with I mean, that guys have interchanged wins and losses against each other over the course of the last few years. It's a razor thin on who's going to pull some of these things out. It's just going to be who's on that day, right? Whose day this all comes together. And then you obviously you have probably one of the most anticipated matches of the year going down with Gordon Ryan and those the Altos guys there. What you don't have to give a prediction. I never want to put him on the spot, but what do you think about that match? When you think about maybe the greatest super fight, the most anticipated super fight. I won't say greatest because we haven't seen it yet. There's been some great super fights with some
Yeah.
legends of this sport. But what do you thinking of Andre Galvao and Gordon? What's your thoughts on that going in?
Well, thoughts are they're pretty undeniable as far as their level. You know what I mean? As far as like how good they are and their legacy and everything like that. They're as they are right now. They're some of the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? So, um, Galvao Galvao's usually got his shit right. He
Yeah,
usually shows up and he's on. He's in shape. He's focused. He's dialed in. And every 2 years, it seems like he gets a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So in
yeah,
that rule set, he's the toughest guy to beat, man. You know, that's the biggest challenge. And you got to think that the rule set, the experience, and
yeah.
the timing of everything just works in Galvao's favor.
Agreed.
That's going to be really hard to conquer. But at the same time, you know, it's Gordon. He's super, super good. He's different. He brings different things to the table that Galvao hasn't really seen before. You know what I mean? So
Sure. Yeah,
it really just depends. You could kind of like go back and forth on it for a really long time because there's a lot of pros and cons on both sides. You
yeah,
know, Galvao's short. Gordon's obviously going to be a little bit bigger than he is. At the same time, Galvao's style, passing could really give Gordon trouble. You know, there's a lot of things you could go back and forth on, but I'm just kind of interested to see what could happen. You know what I mean? Like if Galvao can do it, I think that'd be incredible. That would just make him something just like astronomically good in this sport.
yeah.
But if
Sure.
Gordon could do it, then hey man, you know, it is really legit. ADCC is a rule set for him that he's always strived excelled in as well. So there's a chance, you know, there's a chance either way. It's so hard for me to really say.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I went to that same boat. I go back and forth with it, like in my own mind as well, thinking each guy has their opportunities, and each guy has like their strengths that I think if they can deploy their plan, like I could see it going either way. But it'll be kind of cool, man. I know I'm excited to be there. I've been planning for over a year plus, man. So I was fortunate, man. I got my tickets 10 minutes after they went on sale, man. So I'm pumped to be in the house, watch you compete, man. Watch Giancarlo, all my friends, man, guys that are high level athletes, but at the end of the day, they're super humble. They're very approachable. They're hardworking dudes. Like that's one thing that I love about jujitsu is like you can't go to the NFL workout room and hang out with NFL players or go play basketball with basketball players. But dude, equal opportunity. If you want to show up to the gym and put your gear on, you can go train with world-class athletes every day of the week, And there's this superstar power that these athletes like yourself carry, but it's still rooted in this like kind of blue collar, hardworking, reality. Like it's just blood, sweat, and tears, man. Come in, clock in, go to work. I know I myself, I really value and appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just that kind of connection to the community of jujitsu.
Hmm.
Um, what let me ask you this: who are some people that have had maybe kind of influenced your game? Some of those that have gone before you. You look at their game; they've been influential in kind of your style, or um, kind of help you piece together a little bit of what you do today.
Yeah. So like the people who would have the biggest effect on me, like to my game, to me immediately would be people I've trained with
Mm,
and people who I've had experience with and learned from and learned under. You know what
yeah,
I mean? So like there's a few that come to mind. You know, I started out as a Ibero in the Ibero Association with Salo and Shaji. So I spent time with both of them,
yeah,
learned quite a bit from them and other instructors throughout the years in their association, you know, like learned from all kinds of people on the jujitsu scene with privates and things like that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
immediate instructors as well that I had growing up. And then I would say that I take really a lot from I take a little bit from a lot of people, you know what I mean? I kind of try and make it my own thing when I'm studying, nowadays with who I train with and who I have the chance to talk to, like now at the level that jujitsu is and how intertwined the community is. We have the ability to talk with each other and kind of like exchange ideas, things like this. So who I can learn from, the list could go on forever. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
have tons of people that I learn from and tons of people that I take inspiration from. So it's
Yeah.
hard to really like put my finger on one name, but Vitor
Sure.
Oliveira, I took a lot of inspiration from. I remember when it was 2015, I stayed in a house with Vitor, and I was like, "Holy fuck, man, this guy works, man." You know what I mean? Like this guy's regimented. This guy does his thing, and uh, it was cool to see. You know what I mean? It was something that
Yeah.
it kind of opened my eyes a little bit. So that's like one thing I kind of think back on and be like, yeah, you know what I mean? So. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely took like I said, a little bit from a lot of people, man. But Vitor had big influence. I learned quite a bit from him. So yeah, he's one
Yeah.
that definitely comes to mind.
Yeah. That's awesome. Vitor, no slouch. I mean, he's a 5-time world champion and always a threat. He's on the mat. He's always a threat to
Yeah.
pick up another one,
Hmm.
man. So, what does let's talk a little bit about your academy, your home team there, man, in Toledo. I'm fortunate to know some of those guys that train with you, under you, alongside you. Guys like Brad Schneider, guys, younger guys like Tim, and even Max, Hansen. So let's talk a little bit about your current camp, man, and what that interaction's like. Those are some great guys, high class guys, and some great athletes. Talk a little bit, kind of about your home academy and what that experience has been like.
Yeah. So having a gym, Adamus Jiu Jitsu in Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
Um, got quite a few good competitors here, like you were just talking about. Brad Schneider, saw him on the Zapatero card. Max Hansen, Nilo Bergner, Hunter Kollerick, Tim Hunkley. We got good guys, a solid crew of guys. We're in there every day training. Sasha Reynolds is there too. She's
Mm.
up and comer. She's quite young. So there's a bunch of other, and there's a bunch of students that are kind of starting to come in more and more to be competitors and kind of try and be a little bit more, not full time, but a little more dedicated or committed. So I have a good competition team, and
Yeah.
we're under the Pedigo Submission Fighting umbrella. Keith is my
Yeah.
coach. He's gone with
Love
me
it.
to all my tournaments. He fucking man, he's the man. So he's done a
Yeah.
lot for me. He's done a lot for the team. So
Yeah.
we're happy to represent Pedigo Submission Fighting at the bigger events and be under the same flag. So
Yeah. It's,
ADCC camp has been this year is like pretty close to home. You know what I mean? I haven't gone out to Pedagos that much. I went out at the beginning of the year. I haven't been out really since.
yeah.
Between a couple of things, but I've been keeping the camp close to home. I've been intermingling who I have to and getting the right training in there, the right people. It would have
Yeah.
been great to get in with those guys, but things weren't lining up. And camp here has been awesome, man. We've been buckling down for real.
Yeah, and I know you kind of hit the circuit pretty hard. I know you've been down to Grove City Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. You go up to Strong Style, over to Immortal Martial Arts. They're up in Matt Brown's spot, and I know that room is always stacked. Whoever's in those rooms, it's a stacked room of just guys that are got a grind about them, a pace about them. They work hard. And dude, I love Heath, man. I'll be honest, man. My the first Twisted Church event we ever did was the Baddest Blue Belt tournament. Tim actually was in it.
Hmm.
And trying to think what Michael Pixley was in it. He was still blue belt,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's cool, man, to have Heath and Jacob and everybody come down and just like they're just so approachable, man. Just good dudes. I love when you think and you talk about people who've done a lot for the sport. I look at a guy like Heath, who it almost seemed like he just like this boom came on the scene, but the dude's been on the scene. Like they've been doing it slow building for a
yeah,
decade plus. Nobody knew Daisy Fresh. No one knew their name at the time, but they built that thing right. So it's from the laundromat obviously to their new facility, beautiful mats. Um, Maybe less asbestos, I don't know, but um,
way less,
that's
bro. I haven't
way
been
way
out to
less.
the new gym yet, man. I got to get out to the new gym because I was there in the laundry room when we had the fucking propane heater, bro. When the propane heater was throwing flames on the mat and shit, like back in the day at the laundromat. So we've been through it, man. I'm gonna miss that place. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I'm surprised that it hasn't become kind of like a Mount Vernon, like historical society, building. Just leave it original. Just let it be grimy.
Should
Let dudes come
either
back and
I don't know. The building's gonna fall down, man. The building's not. There's not a lot left. I mean, the guys were rough on that one, so I don't know. I don't think that building's gonna be around much longer. But the boys are in a new spot. I mean, the first time
yeah,
I ever went to Pedigo, what people don't know about Heath and I is Heath and I have known each other since 2013,
yeah,
and we would see each other at the tournaments because Chicago Open was like the big event.
yeah,
That was the big one. Everybody wanted to go to Chicago Open to compete. That was the IBJJF. That was like the big test for real competition. That was like if you wanted to go to Worlds or Pans, you had to see how you did it IBJJF Chicago Open before you could actually say that you have a chance. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it was like kind of a litmus test before you went to the big ones. So
yeah,
I'd always see Heath there, and he'd always have a little crew of guys. He'd always have Wiltsey and his brother, and then like a couple other guys here or there. He's just a cool dude, man. He's just a guy that we hit it off, always seeing each other. We chat here and there, chat a little more, link up to train. First Andrew and I trained a little bit together, and then went down to Pedagog's, and then man, just built a really good relationship with Heath. Even when I wasn't on the team, the guy would come out and coach me. The guy would come out and be there.
yeah,
You know what I mean? When we're talking about inspirations in jiu-jitsu, we're talking about who
yeah,
we formed our game around and did. And the thing about Heath is Heath never tried to like give a way to form my game. Heath was just like the dude who was there, who gave his opinion. His opinions, very relevant, is very trusted, and
yeah,
was just a dude who's always in the corner, man. So I got a lot of I have a lot of great memories with Heath when I wasn't even on the team. You know what I mean? And now
yeah,
that I'm on the team, it doesn't really feel like anything's changed. Like the dude's just kind of been there for me and went to bat for me. It's been really cool, man. I mean, the guy was in my corner when I won a black belt world title when I wasn't even representing the guy's team. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
That's
I didn't
huge.
represent him till like 2 years later. So
That's huge.
yeah,
That states
I
a
mean
lot
that means a
about.
lot.
Yeah, it states a lot about his character, right? And not to like, you know, I have like a lot of respect. I don't put my full trust on a lot of people or give a lot of people my full respect, man. Like I'm a kind of guy kind of keeps my circle small. I have a lot of acquaintances. I have few friends. When I say I know a lot of people, but I'm about quality in my circle over quantity. And I don't follow a lot of people, but a guy like Heath, it reminds me a lot of a guy like Dave Freitag, right? My professor, Dave Freitag. That dude's like his motives are pure. He's gonna serve people well. He's doing things for the right reason. When
Hmm.
I see Heath's a giver, man. Like you said, he was in your corner coaching you to a black belt world title. You're not even flying his banner. You're not even hitting their little famous their pose yet, right?
Yeah,
But fast forward now, you are part of the team. But it's almost like Keith though has been part of your team from day one because he believed in you. He's seen something bigger than just pedigo submission fighting. Right? He saw you as a human being who had a work ethic and dreams, and he was just going to have your back. And that's huge, man. Tons of respect to
yeah.
Heath.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
whenever I tell people about Heath, whenever I talk about him, I just tell people uh, something all the time. I just say he's real. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
man,
He's just a real guy. He doesn't have
love it.
there's no bullshit behind it. There's nothing around it, and that's something I've always wanted to have around. You know what I mean? That's kind of why people might think like, man, this guy doesn't talk to a lot of people or doesn't hang out with a lot of people or whatever,
Yeah,
about me or about Heath or about whatever. Heath is like we kind of have like a lot of similarities, but he's like complete opposite of me, man. Sometimes I won't want to talk to somebody, and it's not because I'm a
yeah,
bad guy. It's because I'm kind of like a little bit of an introvert or might want to be
yeah,
by myself. You know what I mean? But he's the guy he'll talk to anybody, man. If somebody like comes up and wants to talk to him, he's more than happy to talk to you and offer you
yeah,
his advice or just comfort, whatever, man. Just bullshit with you. Doesn't matter. I mean, you can learn a lot from being around a guy like that with his
yeah.
experience and his care for those around him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Proof's in the pudding, man. And There's a saying, a friend of mine, Maurice Claret, former Ohio State football player, obviously had a really bad run, and then he turned his life around. He's done a lot of great things. Maurice would always say, "Hey, show me your friends, I'll show you your future." And there's a lot of truth to that, like who you associate with, right? And in his story, he would
Yeah.
share, like, if I show you my previous group of friends, my future was prison. If I show you my current, group of friends, it's you associate with the people that you want to be like, or the fruit you're going to bear in your life. And so you're in good company, man. And let's talk a little bit about jujitsu here. Let's talk a little bit about tactical jujitsu. Like, what is this a position that you love, man? I like to go through this process. Like, where's a position like you love to get to, in the scrambles or whatever, the takedowns. You love to be in that position because it's just like the jujitsu exchanges or opportunities that are presented from there. They're the most exciting for
Yeah.
you. Where's that at, man?
Back.
Yes,
Taking somebody's
sir.
back. Yeah,
Yeah, take the
for
back from
sure.
everywhere.
For sure. It has to be because you just have uh the ability to like and um the amount of attacks that you have compared to their defense is just way more. So back's always the one, man. I always try and be like a magnet getting to the back.
Absolutely, get to the back. I do a lot of privates with Brett Boggs, black belt there at Grove City, and we would just do that, like back takes from everywhere, hip levers to back take, and I think I might have lost Dante there for a minute. Hold on a second here. Did I lose you, boss? Oh, there you are. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, bro. You kind
Yeah.
of blacked out for a minute, but you're back.
Oh man,
But
sorry.
I love that. I'm with you, man. Back takes from everywhere, hip levers to back take, whatever, crab ride, man. Get to the back, right? It's
For sure. For sure.
Where's the spot that you hate to be? Like, there's those spots in jujitsu, like, bro, I get here, it's just, it sucks. It's either boring to me, I don't like the exchange from here, or I just, hey, man, I hate being here. It's just not ideal.
Uh I don't know, like a place that sucks to be is probably like one of the worst would probably be belly down. Somebody had your back with like a body triangle or something, or like sprawling your hips, or like caught under somebody's hips if you take a
Yeah,
bad shot. Those are places that just kind of suck to get in, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Because like by then it's really frustrating because you made so many mistakes leading up that you shouldn't be
sure.
there in the first place, you know what I mean? So you're probably kicking yourself in the ass about that. So
Oh yeah,
those are ones that are frustrating for sure.
yeah, definitely, man, definitely. Let me ask you, just in your recent competitions, who are some of the toughest matches you had? You go, man, that guy's I was a barn burner, like, I came out on top, whatever. But who would be some of the more notables? Like, I go with that guy, like, respect to that guy, over the course of your whole jiu-jitsu career.
So well, a lot of good people, man. First guy who I had matches with at black belt, who I was like, man, he's pretty tough. Hanger was one of them.
Mm,
Wagner, Gary Tonin, Rotulo, Ty, Canuto, and I had a bunch of matches like all the way from purple belt to black belt multiple times.
yeah.
Um, Davi Hamos was a super, probably the most explosive human being I've ever put my hands on was Davi Hamos.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, yeah, he was super good. Yeah, a whole bunch, man. The more I think, like they're all good and they're all good in their own way. You know what I mean? They're like
Yeah.
uniquely good at jujitsu. All of them. They all have their different threats and their different skill sets. You know what I mean? And then I fought them at all different times of my career at black belt. So there's like different things. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
matches would have played out. I'm not saying like if I fought them now I would destroy them, but like matches would have played out a lot differently because we're both like pretty different. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see if our games nowadays match up as poorly for me as they did back then, I guess, because I didn't win some of the matches, but
Yeah. Yeah.
or if they, line up better, it'd just be cool to see, what
Yeah.
happens now with the guys like Wagner or the guys like Hinger and stuff like that.
Sure.
Um, but I'm not really stressed out about ever getting either one of the matches again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's quite a few other guys out there now. So
Yeah, yeah. There's not a lack of competition opportunity for guys such as yourself. I'm sure. I'm sure all these big cards that are going down. I'm sure people are calling you. They're trying to match you because you bring an exciting style. That's the thing, man. I love in our Twisted Church shows that we've been doing. We're bringing in the pro cards. We've done 2 pro cards. Big one coming up October 22nd. Guys, connect with you. TJ Limmer's in that UFC fighter. It was super cool to have him in the room a couple weeks ago. We all there wrestling together. That was a fun night, man. My whole thing is like I always want to bring guys that are exciting, have an exciting pace. They come to fight. They're going to come to try to finish. Our last show we did had 100% sub rate, right? And they were not one boring match. I'm talking from blue belts to black belts, like they were just getting after it, right? Trying to get the job done. And so guys like you are a guy you don't ever have to worry about. This guy's coming to put on a show, not so much because he wants to be an entertainer, because your style's exciting. You're going to put the hammer down. You're going to go get that takedown. You're going to be hunting the sub. What do you think about what do you think about the 80s? I'm gonna ask a question on this. What do you think about the ADCC rule set, the EBI rule set, and when we're talking about the most exciting jiu-jitsu that we can put on, where do you find that happens? Like in what rule set, or if you could create a rule set, what would that look like?
so I think the most exciting rules, I think they can all be exciting, just kind of, excuse me, comes down to the two guys who are doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if you got a good dance partner out there, then you can make some exciting matches. Whatever rule set, like IBJJF can have a really good match because you got 10 minutes, there's points involved.
yeah,
So you're going to see scrambling of guys. The thing that's really exciting to people, especially onlookers, is the scramble when a guy's trying not to get scored on.
sure,
Um, like
absolutely.
in ADCC, that's what makes it so exciting because you can get like so close to getting scored on. You know what I mean? You get taken down, your butt hits the floor, you like hip heist out, you stand
Yeah,
up, the dude takes your back, slams you down, you get back to your feet. It's like this 40-second,
yeah,
you know, tussling around, and then you're back on your feet and there's no points scored. So it's
absolutely.
0-0 still, but it's still like crazy. People love to see it. Like
Yeah,
Canuto and Gary Tunnen at the last ADCC. There's a good
absolutely.
example of that. Like 0-0 on the scorecard and then just crazy scrambles. But
Yeah,
what was also another thing that kind of makes EBI really exciting is that if you have two people who want to go for it, is you have 10 minutes that's just basically open, it's an open field, and then you have overtime where it has to end by submission.
yeah,
On paper, they all have really, you know,
yeah,
exciting things and they all look really good. It just comes down to, sometimes two people are really good and they're really close and not a lot really happens. Sometimes the dudes just don't want to get a lot done. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
whatever rule set they're in, they're going to find a way to do that.
yeah,
Or I don't want to say find a way to do that, but there's always going to be that happening. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, for sure.
And we all have to do it. I mean, if you're fighting somebody who, even if you're trying to go after them for 10 minutes, you might not be able to finish them. You got to end up going to overtime. You know what I mean? But you can make a pretty exciting match in EBI if you're going for it for 10 minutes and then you're taking the overtime as like an extension of the match rather than trying to survive till overtime, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I saw that a little bit. To be honest with you, anytime I've been at an EBI show, I have definitely seen the strategy play out. Like I'm a pretty tactical human being, and I sit back and I go, no, this dude's banking on the gift of the back.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like it. Don't get me wrong. Really, some really exciting matches. But I like the guys that come out there and they're like, I'm trying to sub you in the next 3 minutes, dude. I'm trying to get in, get out, save my gas tank for the finals. But I did see some guys come out and they immediately pulled guard. They played on the hip for 10 minutes. They just worked guard retention, not to get the guard passed. And then the first set of overtime, they get on the back, rip the head back, get their either hooks in or go to the body triangle and get the sub, and then their opponent couldn't sub them faster. So, win. And I get it. Like there's a tactical strategy to it. For me, it just kind of makes a little bit boring jujitsu. Like I don't know, man. I kind of feel like like we talked about a little bit ago. Get to the back, take the back any way you can. Back takes from everywhere.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, when you flip a coin and then you're gifted the back. Like, I just feel like if you're on someone's back, especially after 10 minutes of grappling and you're sweaty and you're tired, like, your finish rate should be higher. And guess what? Every single one of those matches finished in the first set of overtime from the gifted back take to the rear naked choke,
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I personally, I do love the ADCC because I do like the fact that you do get the sub anytime. But I think when points come in, now you have to, you got to be able to wrestle. You got to be able to counter wrestle. I particularly like points, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's good, but
They all have like their on paper. They're all really good. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They all make sense. Like they all make sense. They really do. When you just explain them, you just explain the rules. They really do make sense. It's us athletes who fuck it up. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
us who like make the. I try my best not to, and there's some guys out there who kind of follow this along the same lines as like what I do.
Yeah,
So that's good, and we're starting to become a larger community. We're starting, you know what I mean? Instead of just trying to get wins, there's a large community of guys who are trying to be exciting and trying to uh, bring something to the table that's a little
yeah,
bit different, that's a little unique. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yep.
So,
It's awesome.
um, because of that, and because that's the way that jujitsu's heading,
Yeah,
um, it's a good sign. You know what I mean? Because that means that more of us are going to end up in different rule set tournaments and make shit more exciting. So
yeah, for
that's what
sure.
we need, man. That's what we need.
Yeah, I love it. All ships rise with the tide, man, and the tide of jujitsu is definitely rising, and it's exciting times. Let me ask you, who's some people that you maybe get to train with? You're like, yeah, this guy's really been good for my camp, like, or maybe some up and comers. Like, you see some guys like, man, this guy's really good, and I think he has a real future, just in either grappling or MMA or anything like that. Like, there's some guys that you get to be around as you travel around the country, guys that are, that you connect with.
Yeah. So my main camp is all those guys that I stated before: Nilo, Brad,
Yeah,
TJ, Max, Hunter, Tim
yeah,
Hunkley, all the others here. I have great wrestling training with usually practices run by Mark Coleman.
yeah,
Wrestling with Josiah Harnell,
yeah,
Jaden Maddox.
yeah.
Was wrestling with Jake Marsh from the World Junior U.S. World Team 2020
Yeah,
member.
beautiful.
Wrestling with a few other people there and doing with wrestlers and MMA fighters for the scrimmage wrestling and things.
Yeah,
Strength training. I have my own facility here. It's kind of just like a loaded out facility, 1,000 square feet of all of our stuff. So I have that covered. I have the best programming from Burley Hawk and the guys at West Side.
yeah,
Um, you know,
yeah,
good
man.
good nutritionist, good mental game. So all that stuff's covered. You know what I mean? So
It's awesome.
that's why I've tried to keep everything pretty tight and in here. But when I've been traveling around, like Josiah is one of the guys that I got to work with um,
Mm.
late last year, and I was kind of like, man, this guy's really good. This guy could be a huge help for me.
Yeah,
So yeah, man, there's a lot of guys. You don't need a lot of guys to train. That's the thing that everybody kind of always falls into is thinking
yeah,
you need to be in these giant rooms, and that's not really true. Once you figure shit out, once you um have the confidence and you
yeah,
have that base built, you don't need that much, man. You can get like 5, 6 guys together,
yeah,
mix up the rounds, do your specific rounds with each guy, and
sure.
man, that's more than enough.
Yeah, it's kind of goes back to that kind of circle thing, right? You need that. You have to have kind of quality over quantity. You don't need a lot, but
Absolutely.
you need a few great ones. That's awesome, dude. Bro,
That's why the room's serious, you know what I mean? That's why with like what you said, when I'm in the
yeah,
room, I'm kind
yeah,
of serious. It's just kind of how it is, man. I don't want to
yeah,
be here and waste fucking time. I'd rather have 2 or 3 people who want to be here and want to train than
yeah,
30 people who are here for social hour. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
but that's the thing. Everybody's different. With somebody who does this twice a week, yeah, they want to be in that bigger room and they want to talk about shit and they want to
yeah,
do all that and do all this. And, I love it. And I love being in classes and joking around, but I like when there's a time that,
yeah. It's work.
um,
Yeah.
it's serious. You know what I mean? So
Well,
you
and
can
that's
only
what
come if you're serious.
I love that. That's what I appreciate, man, because there is in the jujitsu community, there's such a diversity, right? You have the hobbyist, you have the guy or the gal that wanted to lose, 30 pounds, and so they sign up for jujitsu, and they lost weight, And then you have people that like do love and are compelled to do jujitsu competition, right? And that's cool. And those rooms are different. Like, so, we run I host a competition class on Sundays from 1 p.m. to 2:30, and it's 90 minutes of just getting it, bro. It's 2 minutes on, 30 seconds off. We do wrestling Shark Tanks. We do live situational goals. We do different scoring dilemmas where it's just working on making sure our technique is tight while we're tired, and just, whatever, while we're tired, now we're has someone on our back. That's not for everybody. And if somebody like came in, that was their experience, they'd be like, dude, I'm not doing this ever again. Well, that's what I like about being in the room. Like I count it a blessing, man. I turned 44 years old on Wednesday. So to spend that Tuesday night in a room with a bunch of freaking dogs, man, like in their 20s, I'm just happy to be in the room, but I'm still willing to run out there and get dogged or get whooped on. Every time it's my turn, I'll run to the mat and get it. But it's one of those things, but it's a mindset, right? Like if you're passionate about it, you want that. You want the hard work. You don't want nothing easy. You want to suffer now because you're going to have the success later. I look at it like this. If I keep training with guys like you and Josiah and Jaden and whatever, whoever, the Brad Schneiders of the world, then when I get matched up with dudes that are in their mid 40s like me, I'm the hammer, not the nail anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah,
get
for
out.
sure.
It's old man
For sure.
jiu-jitsu. It's good.
For
But
sure.
brother, I really appreciate it. We're coming up on about 46 minutes here together. So I'm going to ask you one more question. If you could say anything to anybody, man, this lives in the internet. So this will be here forever. Whether people catch it, tomorrow, or they catch it 6 years from now. If you could just take this moment in time and just say to anybody out there that's watching this, give them any advice about life, what would you say to them, man? What would you say to the world if you could tell them anything right now?
If I could share a message to anybody who's watched this podcast, it would just be, um, whether you know what jujitsu is or not, whether you stumble across me talking and know what I do or have, not a fucking clue of who I am, um, just kind of remember that this is somebody who's very passionate about what they do. You know what I mean? So you can always learn about somebody who's an expert in their field and who's passionate. So always take the time to listen a little bit. Always take the time to kind of listen to somebody's journey, kind of listen to where people came from, and kind of get that different perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
I'm young. I'm like only 27 years old, but been around a lot of shit in this sport, and I've been around here for a long time. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's always cool to share what I've gone through, where I came from, how I came up in this, and whether you do jujitsu or not, I hope this is something that you can learn from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With that being said, it's also kind of the saddest day of jujitsu was yesterday. You know what I mean? An idol
Yeah.
that
Mm,
we all looked up to
yeah.
passed away. I
Yeah.
know a lot of people got a lot of things to say, and at the same time, people kind of might get tired of the whole narrative of like the RIP to a legend thing. But I
No.
mean, it's true, man. The reason why it bothered me so much the other day was reasons that not a lot of people might have thought or really talked about, but man, it was just deep. That
Yeah.
was like the kid who was on the Wheaties, when I was looking at the cereal box, that was like Leandro Lo to me almost, man. Like
Yeah.
when we were young, and it was at a different time for me. It was when I was in high school. I wanted to be like Lo, man. I'd
Yeah.
skip around with his arms out. You'd challenge your friends to like
Yeah.
a match on the mat. You'd put your arms out and skip around and be like, "Yeah, let's go." That was like the
Yeah.
code that you were scrapping. That's who it came from. It came from him, man. So
Yeah.
the fact that he passed away, regardless of circumstances, just the fact that he's gone in my lifetime,
Yeah.
um, so young, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Only 6 years older than me is.
Yeah.
It was hard, man. So it was hard yesterday. Jiu-jitsu, it was a hard day for jiu-jitsu yesterday.
Absolutely.
It really was all around. Regardless if you knew the guy personally or not,
Yeah.
he had influence on you, and everybody felt that, man. So
Yeah.
um, kind of upset to go through it, but that's life, and hope the guy gets remembered for a long time.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're exactly right, man. Hard day for jujitsu. I mean, I remember just one of the basic initial things I learned in jujitsu was, the uh, the passing, and just through Dave being taught that, and then even going on to flow, like not just a couple years ago, they come out with that whole kind of documentary, man. You could really just get to see Lowe's life, and inspirational, man. It's funny because I remember Professor Freitag put out like this poll, like, hey, who's the top 5 people? Like, if you could roll with any 5 people, or if you could have a 2-hour seminar with any 5 people, who would they be? And it was amazing. Myself, Low, and so many other people put Leander Low on their list. Like, wouldn't it be cool to learn like, that passing series from him. And then I was getting on the plane again, flying to Florida, and Professor Freitag dropped that on our group chat, and I was like, what? It just kind of it seems surreal, right?
Yeah.
Seems
Yeah,
surreal,
man.
man. Such a legend to the sport, but to your point, life is fragile, man, and passion's a big deal. That was a passionate dude. You're a passionate dude, and maybe in this crazy world we live in, sometimes it's the best thing as we're grappling with life, like we all are, to take a moment and sit down and listen to someone else's story. Find out what makes them tick, man. Find out why they're so passionate about that crazy, jujitsu, and it doesn't have to be that. Maybe it's they're passionate about music or art. When you take time to sit down and listen to somebody, you might just draw life inspiration from that person, and
For sure.
it's good stuff, man. Well, dude, listen, I think you're first class, bro. You're one of my favorite grapplers. I love to watch you work, but more importantly, man, I'll tell you this: I appreciate you as a human being, not just as a grappler, man. You're fighting, jujitsu, for all of us. It has a window. That window comes, and then that window goes. But who you are as a man, who you are as a human being, brother, that's what sets you apart, man. Your work ethic is top notch. Those that are around you, you're making them better. Like all those guys you talked about in your camp, they're in your camp because they believe in you, because you're a leader. And you don't ask them to do anything that you're not willing to do yourself, or that you are leading by example. So thank you for that, man. And I know anytime I'm in the room, bro, I know you're going to bring out the best of me. And that's I look forward to more opportunities to train with
For
the
sure.
best in the world, bro. So thank you so much for cutting out some time, man. And hopefully you'll get some good rest, and we'll all go train hard tomorrow, brother. Sound good?
Oh yeah. All right, man. Hey, thank you, everybody out there. Good night. Thanks for having
Awesome.
me on, Dave. Thanks
Yeah, my
again,
man.
brother.
We'll talk soon, bro. We'll see you soon, buddy. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Later, bro. Hey, for those of you who are watching tonight, thank you so much for joining, man. Keep grappling with life. Life can be hard. Sometimes it feels like you're stuck on the bottom and someone's suffocating you. But guess what, man? If you just stay calm, be patient, and trust the technique of life, you're going to make it through it, I promise. So just keep digging, keep working, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. God bless you.